husband-made chatbot of his exie. I, 34-year-old female, have been married to my husband Dave, 35-year-old male, for 8 years. Before we got married, he had a serious relationship with Wendy for about 3 years, which ended when he found out she had been cheating on him the entire time, to someone she's now married to. This messed Dave up pretty bad, although by the time we met he was pretty much over it, or said he was, and acted like he was. We've never had trust issues or whatever. I noticed about a month ago that he was being weird with his phone. I didn't think much at first and didn't snoop, but then I noticed he had what looked like a messaging app open, and the name at the top was Wendy's name. The idea that he'd be talking to her was pretty inconceivable, but I asked to see his phone and he got extremely embarrassed and begged me not to look. Which I did look, and there was a chat with him and her and a picture of her. Or so I thought. He told me, and I did not believe it at first until he proved it, that it isn't actually a chat with her. It's an app where you can make a chatbot and give them a backstory and talk to them. He showed me everything. The rest of the ones he'd made were dumb stuff, but the one with Wendy was basically him replaying when he found out about her and then berating her, over and over. He had like 20 of these he'd done at least. I read through most of them and there was nothing sexual but a lot of very aggressive language. I'm confused, weirded out, full of the ick. I do not like Wendy at all, but this doesn't seem healthy or good. I told him he really needed to talk to a therapist to work through whatever he still needs to work through with Wendy. He's pretty anti that idea, which is frustrating because I am a therapist. But the whole thing has me weirded out and I kind of want to insist on it. He says it's not that weird and that since he's not even doing any sexual stuff and it's not causing us any problems, it's not really my concern. But then he was hiding it, so he kind of knows it's messed up, right? So yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, am I the weird one for being weirded out by this? Or is this really as weird as I think it is and he should go deal with it? We are currently trying for kids and this whole thing just has me freaked out. It's concerning that your husband is still fixated on his past relationship to the point where he's using a chatbot to relive the breakup. As a therapist, I can tell you this level of ruminating is not healthy, and he really should seek professional help. It seems like there is unresolved anger towards being cheated on, but it's important for him to move on and find closure through more productive means like journaling. It's strange that he's avoiding therapy, but it's clear he needs to address these unresolved issues for the sake of your marriage. I feel trapped and uncared for by my GF of 4 years. How do I fix my situation? To keep things as anonymously as possible, I'm not going to dive too much into the relationship, just how we got where we are and my problems with it. What I'm looking for in this post is advice to help better our relationship or thoughts on how I should proceed with it. Thank you for reading and I appreciate your thoughts. Me and my girlfriend have been dating for almost 4 years and we've known each other since early elementary school. We started dating right around the time we graduated and we moved in together about 1.5 years ago. We both work, split tasks, chores evenly among each other, and we both have ways and opportunities to take breaks and do our own things separately. Honestly, it's my ideal relationship and I love these parts about it, and that I'm able to enjoy them with her. However, there are things I wish could be a bit better. In terms of intimacy, we haven't had any bedtime intimacy in a year, no sex, cuddle nights, nothing. Honestly, I don't mind not doing it often, but sex isn't the only thing I feel deprived of. I have to practically beg for any kisses, almost all of which are forehead kisses. Mind you, I love forehead kisses, both giving and receiving, but we never actually kiss. Cuddles are like that too. The only times we cuddle are when she wants it, and if she wants it, I love cuddles. I like being close, and the feeling of supporting someone like that, but no matter what I do, or how I ask, we never cuddle when I want to. And if I don't want to cuddle when she wants to, it's too bad for me, I have to, or she gets really upset. At the beginning of our relationship, it wasn't like this. We had sex every other week or so, and we both enjoyed it and tried different things. Kissing wasn't frequent, but we did it often enough. The cuddles were always this way, but I didn't mind it at first, because I would always jump at the opportunity when she offered it. It's only been this bad for the past year, and no matter what I do or say, it feels like she either doesn't listen or doesn't care about what I want. I've sat and asked her if there's something I'm doing wrong, or if she's okay, and she always says she doesn't know why, she just doesn't want to. I still love her so much, but I don't know if she still loves me the same way. I feel like a glorified best friend that sleeps in the same bed as her. The only time she starts showing signs of her caring are when I'm really depressed or if I had a really bad day. The last thing I'm worried about is the nature of our relationship. Because of personal circumstances, she cannot split up right now. She has no supportive network and struggles with severe anxiety and depression. If anything were to happen to me or our relationship, I do not know what she would do, and that scares me the most. I feel trapped. If you think she's cheating on me or being unfaithful, I can confidently say that. That's not the case. We both have an open phone policy and use each other's phones frequently. Plus, she only ever goes out for work or hang out with either her friends from school or our mutual friends. Her friends from school only meet up for holidays or events. I try and tell her to ask them out more, but she never doesn't because she gets too nervous. Is there something I'm doing wrong? Tell her how you feel and that you want to be more affectionate with one another. Tell her you miss cuddling and kissing on her and being kissed on. Ask if you can randomly smooch on her, and if she says yes, start doing so. Have you been open about your needs, desires in the relationship? Do you have other romantic gestures? Apart from physical intimacy, you need to evaluate whether she is a good fit for you. You are clearly unhappy. It's time to break it off. Good luck. Am I the antagonist for holding on to my extra seat in a crowded theater? For context, I am 27 years old, a second-generation Vietnamese American. My parents immigrated here in the 80s where they met and had me and my two siblings. Our family also loved going to the movies, and whenever there is a Vietnamese movie in theaters, I always take my mother and siblings. Father passed during COVID. There just so happened to be a romantic comedy called AmITheA that just came out last week. The movie theaters in my area all have selected seating, and I usually purchase my tickets online before I come in. With that being said, there is a bigger population of Vietnamese Americans in our area that love supporting Vietnamese movies as well. So this particularly movie theater always sells out whenever they show one. Originally, I had bought tickets for a Monday night showing to take my family, but there was a work situation, so we had decided to reschedule for Tuesday instead. Well, upon exchanging the tickets, I realized that Tuesday nights have cheaper tickets, so I could get 5 tickets for the price of the original 4 I bought. Being someone who prefers not sitting next to strangers, I did end up buying 5 in the middle of the theater so that we would have wiggle room on at least one end. We went to sit down around 5-10 minutes before the movie started with our snacks. For reference, I bought seats F5 and in, and so we sat in seats S6 in with F5 being empty on my left. By the time the trailers roll around, the theater was nearly full with the exception of a few seats towards the front in F5. Well, 2-3 trailers in, a middle-aged man sat down next to me in F5, turned to the patrons on the other side of it and told them he made it to the movie after all in Vietnamese. I politely got his attention and asked if he was in the wrong seat since I bought it. He said he thought the seat was empty, so he sat down because it was next to his friends, but that he can move if the person sitting there shows up. I told him straight up that I bought the extra seat so I didn't have to sit next to strangers and would appreciate it if he could move. My sister on my right at this point just tried to get me to stop it because she didn't want to be confrontational, but I held firm, and he eventually moved to his seat towards the front while saying something in Vietnamese under his breath. I just replied by saying thank you to him in Vietnamese as he walked away. After the movie, I heard his friends whispering about me in Vietnamese as we were all walking out, and even my sister said that I could have been polite and let him sit since respecting our elders is a big part of our culture, and he just wanted to sit with his group. I told her that he should have bought tickets earlier then, and that he knew the seat was occupied when he bought a ticket, so it's not my fault for holding my seat. Not the antagonist, technically you bought the seat, but you definitely seemed like the from the outside. However, you could have been less selfish and let him buy the ticket off of you since he was working. Swapping seats with your sister could have solved the issue easily without arguing with everyone. Anyone ever get a divorce or end a serious long-term relationship because they literally couldn't stand their in-laws? Too long. Didn't read as time goes by I grow to dislike my in-laws more and more to the point that I have contemplated divorce. I never thought I'd be the person that hated their in-laws, yet here I am. I've been with my husband 11 years, married almost 8. I never liked father-in-law but got along great with mother-in-law until about 2 years ago. He's awful. Last November, after a decade of keeping my mouth shut, I unleashed on him and we got into a huge, massive argument, screaming in each other's faces and all. It had to do with my daughter. Things have been extra tense since I was pregnant with her. She's a little over 2. I have not talked to him since the incident and have only seen her twice and barely sent texts. My husband brought up going over their house on Easter yesterday. I hesitated but said yes. It's fine. Then today he was talking about it with his mom on the phone, and I heard her ask if I was coming. He said yes, and after the call he told me, you know you're going to have to talk to my dad. I said that's fine, I really don't have much to say, and that's the honest truth. His mom and dad and my husband too are all expecting me to apologize. His mom has asked him repeatedly about when am I going to. I'm not sorry though. I'm not sorry for losing my shit defending my daughter. I find it so convenient that this is all on me to smooth things over. He has said and done some extremely hurtful things over the years to my husband. But there's never a push for an apology from father-in-law. Mother-in-law just says, well, you know how he is. The thought of being in the same room with them makes me physically sick. I can feel myself getting sarcastic with my husband whenever he mentions it. He got snarky back at me today and mentioned how I don't have the best relationship with my own parents and asked if I like to hold grudges because he's tired of the grudges. I was so angry about what he said. His dad is perfectly capable of reaching out if it bothered him that much. I'm not sorry though, so I also am not going to lie. I've started fantasizing about if we ever did split, I would make sure the divorce papers included that my daughter is not allowed to be with my father-in-law unless my husband is present. And that's if I'm feeling generous and say he can see her at all. I know I sound like an awful person, but I am having a really hard time not feeling like this, and it's driving me nuts. Has anyone else had such a bad experience with their in-laws that they ended their marriage over it? I just really don't know how to move past this. I love how I'm the bad guy here. The past 11 years I've seen more ugly things come out of my father-in-law's mouth than I ever thought possible, but no one's saying to him, you know you're going to have to talk to her, because nothing is ever his fault. Your husband is prioritizing his father over you and your daughter, which is short-sighted and will only lead to their alienation. It sounds like you have a husband problem, not an in-law problem. If he doesn't change his ways, therapy may be your best option to salvage your marriage. Don't visit at Easter if he can't stand up for you and put your family first. Am I the antagonist for going to my partner's ex-wife's funeral? To start off, I'd like to be transparent that my boyfriend's, we'll call him Liam, ex-wife, we'll call her Lauren, and I were not fond of each other. This is something she made an active effort to make clear and I did not, but is an easy assumption to make. We never officially met after Liam and I started dating, but were obviously aware of each other. They stayed friends after the divorce and had 2 kids together. A few years into our relationship, they had a falling out, nothing to do with me, and stopped talking. All that being said, Lauren passed away recently. Liam is of course having a hard time with it. She was the mother of 2 of his kids after all, and now his kids are obviously devastated. It's a lot of emotion to handle, and Liam and I are each other's main source of emotional support. When Liam told me about the wake, there was no question that he would be going to support his kids, and I asked him if he wanted me to go with him. He immediately said yes, and I thought nothing else of it. Of course I would be there for him and his kids if that's what he wanted. So the day comes, everything was fine throughout the greetings and speeches, but shortly after the general mingling started, we hit a snag. I was standing off to the side of the room with my son. Liam was migrating from his kids to old in-laws and back to me for short breaks. When a woman I didn't know came up and asked me, "You're Liam's new wife, right?" "Girlfriend. But yes, it's really inappropriate for you to be here, you know," she said. I was pretty taken aback. I didn't even meet him until almost 10 years after their divorce, and I wasn't the cause of the situation between them that led them to stop talking. All I could think to say was wakes are for the living. Lauren was the mother of Liam's kids. He loved her enough to marry her and start a family with her. I'm sure some of those feelings never go away, and he's here to support his children. I'm here to support him. She gave me and my son this horrifically nasty look and said, "You shouldn't be. Neither of you should be. She wouldn't want you here." This was a tense-in-the-moment exchange, and my knee-jerk response bounced from my knee to my mouth before I could think, and I just said, "Well, sorry you feel that way. Excuse me," and I walked away towards Liam. We got a few more side glances during the time there, but the rest was uneventful, if also very uncomfortable. After we got home, I relaxed enough to actually think it through, and I really don't know if I should feel like the for going. Liam had a really tough time, and I know me being there helped him get through it. If anyone said anything to him, he hasn't told me. I get that woman's perspective. She's right in that Lauren probably wouldn't have wanted me there. But am I the antagonist for going anyway? Not the antagonist. Your decision to accompany your BF to the funeral is a positively supportive action for him and his children during a difficult time. It's truly important. It shows the support and affection you have for his family. As for others, just ignore them. You handled the situation gracefully and respectfully. Based on the context here, you weren't there for Lauren, you were there for Liam and his children. Question: how is your relationship with Liam's kids? Do they like you? Accept you? Is your son Liam's son? If yes, how is Liam's kids' relationship with him? Also, how old are the kids? Am I the antagonist for kicking out my baby daddy with our son? I have been separated from my son's father for 3 years, since he was 1. In that time, I have returned to work full-time and bought a home for myself and my son, while he has worked on and off, and is now trying to set up his second business since we separated. My ex lives with his parents, and his mother, son's grandmother, refuses to allow our son in their home as she finds it too stressful. Therefore, to ensure my son maintains a good relationship with his father, I have let him come and take care of our son in my son's, home. He has always seen him 2 days 1 week and 1 day the following. In the last 8 months, as he has been earning no money and paying no child maintenance, it became unsustainable for me to keep paying the full-time nursery fees while I worked, so my ex started having our son 2 days in the week and then every other weekend. I had always expected that once he was earning money again, that he would back pay the child maintenance he has not been paying. This happened in the past where he did not pay for 5 months, but when he was earning, he did pay it back. This time though, he has said he does not feel like he owes me any child maintenance as he is looking after our child 2 days a week, so I can work and not have to pay nursery, so it balances out. To mention, I have just changed our son's nursery hours to accommodate his father's working hours. His business is based in America. He does not start work until 2 p.m., so he will have our son for 3 hours every morning instead of the 2 full days, allowing him to work fully the same as me. While he is in my home, he drinks my coffee, uses my food. He does buy a lot when cooking for my son himself. But things like butter, cheese, oil, sauces, etc., he uses mine. He leaves my oven a mess, and he puts our son in front of the TV and falls asleep while I'm upstairs working. I got fed up with it today. The final straw was him saying he was not going to pay any child maintenance, so I told him if he was not going to contribute towards what I provide for our son, then he could not benefit from it anymore, and he was no longer welcome in my home. I said we would do a handover at the door and what he did in his parenting time was his responsibility. He says I'm an awful mother who does not put her son first because I kicked our son out with him in the rain. He brought our son back at 1 p.m., even though he knew I would still be working, but of course, I accepted him back and worked around things. I was not kicking my son out, but I am fed up with feeling like my ex lives with me and is taking advantage. Am I the antagonist for not allowing him to use my home, as I know his mother will not allow him to bring our son to his house? He's now said he will not see our son until he has his own flat, considering he is currently not earning. That is not going to be quick. I am hoping that I can talk to him to come to an agreement where he still sees our son, as he'll be devastated otherwise. But I feel like the only way will be to let my ex start coming back into my home. Not the antagonist. Your ex is clearly the one at fault here for not pulling his weight in terms of child support and refusing to contribute towards his son's well-being. It's important to set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being in this situation. Consulting with a lawyer is the next step to ensure that you and your son are protected moving forward. Stand your ground and don't let him manipulate the situation. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.